It's time for Recipe of the Day. Happy Thanksgiving! I hope you're having a wonderful day, and my recipe for you today is one that you can do pretty last minute if you were thinking about making homemade cranberry sauce. So, a few years ago, my friend Ryan was coming over for Thanksgiving, and he told me not to make cranberry sauce. He said he's got it covered, and then he said, "You have a food processor, right?" And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? Anyhow, I did have a food processor, and so I was very surprised when Ryan showed up with a bag of fresh cranberries instead of a bowl of cranberry sauce. I asked him if he needed a pot, and he said, nope, just the food processor. Now, if you've ever bitten into a raw, fresh cranberry, you will understand my surprise when I watched him then just put the cranberries in the food processor and start whizzing it up with some other ingredients and saying, no, we're not cooking this. I was really, really concerned. I was very, very wrong, which is often, but not always, the case when it comes to things to do with Ryan. But this stuff is amazing. Cranberry Relish, you're really taking a bag of fresh cranberries, putting them in the food processor with some other ingredients. It chops it all up and it gets like sweet, fresh, tangy, tart. It's really, really wonderful on turkey, but it's also great on like a cheese plate stirred into yogurt. I call it the ultimate Thanksgiving condiment. It's that good. Now, I do have a word of caution for you. If you just search for Cranberry Relish on the internet, you are going to find a slew of recipes that call for a whole orange put in there. Now, me and my team, when we were talking about this recipe and doing some research for it, found this whole orange thing, and we were pretty perplexed. Like, this cannot possibly be good, all that pith. And so, of course, I did message Ryan, and I'm like, can you please send me your recipe? His did not have the whole orange in it, just orange juice and orange zest. And so we actually decided to do a side-by-side taste comparison. You can see the pictures on the site. If you go to cookthestory.com/cranberry-relish, that's where the recipe is. But we did do the side-by-side comparison. So we made one version very similar to Ryan's with just the orange zest and the orange juice and the cranberries and the sugar. And then we did the other version, the same, but instead of juicing and zesting the orange, just putting the whole orange in there because that's easier. And that's what so many of the recipes online have. And you'll see the color is nowhere near as nice with that whole orange, but also the flavor was just not good. It's very bitter from the pith. The pith also has this like weird texture, and the whole thing was a little bit waterier, and it didn't set up as well once in the fridge. The cranberry relish without the orange goes into the fridge for a little while, and the natural pectin from the cranberry kind of gets released and makes it a little bit saucier. That didn't happen as well with the one with the whole orange. So if you're searching for this online, if you're not just going to come and use my recipe, which is of course the one that I do recommend, make sure that the one you choose does not call for a whole orange. Now, a lot of them also call for an apple or some nuts mixed in. I don't think it's necessary. This was just bright and fresh and beautiful the way that Ryan makes it. It is really just, well, let me tell you how to make it, because by the time I tell you what's in it, I'll have told you how to make it essentially. So you're getting a food processor or a sturdy blender that can really like crunch some things up, and into it you are adding the zest of one orange, the juice from one orange, a bag of fresh cranberries. Don't use frozen cranberries. They're a little bit waterier and they do not turn out as well. And then quite a bit of sugar is going in there, a whole cup, and then a pinch of salt that really rounds everything out, and some cinnamon. So that's just all in your food processor, and then you just whiz it up until they're about in like 1/8 inch pieces, those cranberries. You don't want them to be mushy, just like really, really chopped. Then you transfer that to a bowl, cover it, put it in the fridge for at least an hour, but up to 3 days before serving. And that is it. All that bright, fresh flavor. It is delicious. It is good in so many different things. I've even seen people eat it with tortilla chips online. I have not tried that yet, but go for it. Ultimate Thanksgiving condiment. Thank you, Ryan, for bringing it into my life. I'll put the link in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is November 28th of 2024. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookville.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Let's get cooking.